Hi guys, and welcome to our Kwik-E-Mart build for our Springfield. As you can see, I've put the sign in the back. In order for that sign to fit, I have had to go a little bit big. We are talking 40 squared, so 40 blocks squared. It's quite a big space. Not too sure how that's going to impact on the inside. For me, it's all about the outside. So starting off, I'm going to chuck out 9 hard clay. And then I'm going to jump over to a cyan stained clay. 10 hard clay, sorry. And then I'm going to jump over to cyan clay, 1. And then I'm going to place 5 blocks of glass, cyan coloured. And then I'm going to go cyan stained clay, 1 block. And then finishing off with 2 glass panes, leaving a gap of 2. And then repeating the process the opposite way, so 2 glass planes, 1 cyan clay, 5 glass blocks, and then finishing off with a stained clay, and then jumping onto our hard clay, put in another 10 down for the end piece. Now guys, I know it's a lot of blocks and I know it's a big space. For me, it's all about fitting that Kwik-E-Mart sign on top of the building, and believe me, it really isn't big enough as it is. Hence, at the end of the video, we do go through a couple of bits where I try to make the roof a bit bigger. So guys, we're going to layer this up, and it's going to be 7 in total. So your orange hard clay can go up to level 7. Your hard clay, the 1 block, can go up 7 blocks. Across the top of your glass, we're going to put cyan stained all the way across on the second row. And then obviously coming all the way up on the last one, filling in the 5 block space with our glass. So I've gone 4 blocks up because I know my glass panes are going to be 4 blocks high. So I'm going to build this stain up to 4 level, and then we're just going to chuck on our 2 glass panes all the way up to the 4th level, following suit as the other side. Bearing in mind I've just messed up a little. That second row should be the cyan stained block. So jumping back in, I'm just going to smash them back out, put in my row of cyan stained, and then building up our orange stained clay just to build it back up. So there we go. Now guys, this has got to go up 7 levels, so I'm now going to be chucking on my extra 3 levels. I'm going to chuck in my cyan clay, which will now go all the way up, including the 5 blocks of glass. That will go up to the level 7 as well. So it's all about taking it up to 7 levels, and as you can imagine, this is going to be a big building, a lot bigger than I intended really, but I wanted that sign on top of the roof. We need 2 of them on the roof to keep it as accurate as possible on the outside. So guys, I'm going to drag my cyan stain across the top of our glass panes, and then I'm going to go jump back to my blue stained glass, and I'm going to be chucking that across in the gap, taking that up to our 7 levels, so it'll be 2 rows of glass block. And in the same style, we're just going to raise everything up to the 7 blocks, so we know we're on par with our front of the building. So there you are, we're up to our 7th level, and now I'm just going to jump down, chuck my glass pane in the bottom of the door where I've left the 2 gaps. I just want it literally on the 4th block high. Now I'm counting these out, it's actually 40 like I've already said, and we want that squared. So basically, including the ones on the front of the building, when we turn around, we want 40 blocks long. So we've already got 1, so we're going to place another 39 going backwards. So I'm just going to chuck in my glass panes in here, like just across the top layer, just to create the look of doors. We may change it at a later time, but for now I'm quite happy with the way it looks. So we're just going to drag these out for 39 blocks. And now doing the same on the opposite side, making it 40 long, including the one on the front, so you drag out another 39, and then obviously filling back in across the back row as well. And obviously my sign did help here, because I knew as long as I was 2 spaces away, I was where I was going to be. I built the sign just to make sure that we sort of could make the dimensions fit. And now guys, we're going to be building that up to the 7 levels. So I won't make you watch me literally dragging all of this orange clay up 7 levels. We just, I'll skip ahead in the video. So there you go guys, we should all have something looking like this, 7 blocks high all the way around. And we're going to jump round and we're going to put in the side door. In some pictures the side door's there, in other pictures it's not. I thought it's best to probably include it. So guys, I've left just a space of, I've come 3 in from the end of the building and I'm creating a space 3 wide. And to be honest, you don't have to take it up that high. I only in the end kept it at 4 levels rather than the 5. I was just trying to see what we could do with it. So I used a light grey stained clay, and also I used an iron door just to inkeep it. It was really the only door that I felt really suited the space. So I just built this up. And like I say, the top layer there, I only took it up 4 levels in the end. And I'm just going to chuck in an iron door, making it look more like a Pooh's sort of back door style. Which obviously means we are going to have to chuck in a button at some point to make sure it works. Now I'm just going to layer this with an orange clay. I'm going to put that around. And it takes me a moment to do it because I'm looking at it wondering what I was going to do. So I'm just going to put a layer around. And it's not so much I wanted to, but I also didn't want it to just stand out with just a flat wall, because clay seems to tie together pretty well. I thought we'd just put a border around the door just to make it look that little bit better. Now for me guys, I used dark oak planks to start the roof. Now guys, I did go through the roof a couple of times looking at it. So I placed one on the outside, one on top. Now these are actually going to be out twice, so it'll be a double row coming out forward, which is handy. We're just trying to make the space for our sign, which evidently wasn't as big as I was hoping it was, so ended up making it 2 layers. So as you're running round the whole building, it's actually going to be 2 layers. And I do skip a bit of me doing the work on the roof, but only in the process of showing you that actually I changed it a couple of times. Because like I say, I come out twice, so you'd place another one next to this, so that would be a lane of 2 blocks wide. And actually I go up 2 blocks at a time. Now normally in my roof, like I've done here, I've tiered it up at 1 level at a time. But honestly, stick with your first level for now, and we'll tackle the sign. And I don't do it on this level, I do it on the first level, because I'm just trying to really keep it in keeping and trying to not make the building too big on top. So we're going to run this across, and it's going to be 38 long. And we can take off the edges and keep it down. In fact, in the end I do keep it down to 36 now I think about it. Really, because I let literally the letters become the edge. So I've got 3 left on that side. The bottom blocks, I think it's actually 4. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. So I put 1 on top, run down to the other end, but I actually end up taking off the very end pieces. So that extra one I've just put there, I take off in the end. Really just trying to keep the sign a bit smaller and trying to keep it going. So for the sign we're using white wool, red wool and green wool, and the letters we're just going to build up 3 high. And I'm not going to talk you all the way through this, I'll let you just watch the video and see as I do it myself. This really was a challenge, more because the building itself isn't completely accurate once this sign is on, purely because it's so big. The option is to go bigger than what it is now, and I don't really think that's a great idea, because some of you guys are going to be wanting to do all the inside, and for me, if it's down to doing the inside, you got to try and limit some of that space. Now we can peel back some of the wall layers, as in boxing it off, you know, take away a couple of layers by putting up, say, like a partition wall in a house. So I'm really not too sure there. So on the bottom there for the E, we have to go up into the green and down into the white. And you'll see now that next to the K we have to knock out the 2 next to the, so we go to the middle line of the E, and we have to start putting in the green down to the 2nd layer down and putting it there, and then it's a case of running it all the way back, and obviously we do the same on the other side once we've finished. Now the only reason I don't build that up, I mean, it is down to personal preference, but personally I didn't want it to be too much bigger. You really do want to try and keep it in so it looks like the Kwik-E-Mart as much as possible. So don't copy me there, putting the white on is you revert back to the green after the E. So guys, as you'll notice, I'm building onto 1 layer of wood, and that is absolutely fine, because what I do is layer my 2nd layer. I only literally play around with it on the front end of it, because I'm looking at it as I'm doing it, and I was playing around with it, trying to get it as good as possible. The A, there is no middle to it, because otherwise we're going to have to go over using 3 spaces, which I really didn't want to do. And the R, we've had to drop down to a lowercase letter, which is fine in my eyes, but obviously for some of you it may not be. And then remembering afterwards to knock away the end pieces and running our green across the top. So guys, as you look, you can see the roof just really doesn't keep with the size of the building and the size of the sign, so hence why I had to play around with the roof for a little while, just to really make sure that I'd done it right, because for me it just really wasn't working, and it was really annoying to see. But at the moment, as I build up my tiers, obviously you won't have to do this, because you're going to want to be building 2 layers up at a time instead. So wait for me to do my roof and you'll see exactly what I mean. So guys, in the same style that I am building it up there, in a sort of pyramid style, this is the way I'm going to be doing it. And I've never done a roof like this, but because of the size of the build, it felt quite necessary. So like I say, I've doubled up, and now I'm going to start doubling up on my next layer, and so on until we reach a high enough level to come just over the top of the Kwik-E-Mart sign. And you'll notice when we go backwards, it does look so much better. Like I say, I've never done this before because I don't know, I don't even like using blocks as roof unless it's really necessary, let alone using 2 of them every tier. But every build is different, so it's just the way it goes. So like I say, when you're building your roof, go up at 2 levels at a time rather than 1, so you haven't wasted time like I have. It wasn't part of my plan to waste time, it was just more, that's where I got with it. And then I realised that obviously the sign being there, it didn't matter how high I built up, it just wasn't going to work. So guys, this is just me really figuring out what I wanted to do with the roof, how I wanted to go about it. Obviously for you guys, you wouldn't have done everything that I've done in the middle, you'll just be building straight up at 2 at a time once you've put your sign on. So you'll be straight onto the winning path, if you know what I mean. And after I actually do this, I do decide to chuck on stairs at every level as well. And the reason being is because I really wanted it to keep us in keeping with the Kwik-E-Mart as possible. It's a really weird roof to build, especially within Minecraft. Obviously if it was a smaller build, it would have been a lot easier. So I'm just going to take a look at my work. As you can see already, it's got a bit more of a standing out. It actually comes to the sides of the sign itself. Just filling in this gap a minute. And we're just really going to go from this part, and we're going to start chucking on some stairs. Like I say, it's just me really figuring out how I'm going to build it. I never have plans for these builds. It's just really what comes to mind at the time. So I'm going to start just blocking in some pieces, but obviously bearing in mind that we are going to have a sign coming down this side. So the second layer you are not going to want to do after your 3rd block, because we want to do the same as what we've done on the front, put a second sign in keeping with the actual build. So already I think that's a lot better. But I just wanted to see if I could give it more of a slant than what it's already got, but trying to keep it as steep as possible. So I add on 1 extra block. I don't take this up too high. This is just 1 extra one, just to really try and, as I would normally with slabs. And it does actually look quite odd, where it is just like 1 more step, and I'll probably use that to drop down into the roof and just have like a rooftop something on there. I'm not too sure yet. So grabbing my dark oak steps, I'm just going to layer these levels as we go across. I mean, this is all down to personal preference. If something else works for you, or it works on single blocks, or even if you don't mind the sign too much, then I gotta be honest, I probably would have built smaller. But at the same time, I look at this, I look at the school and the actual houses, and it's probably better that I did do it this size. The only thing that annoys me is, like, as you can see over there, the lower part of the school isn't as big as this. And it is only a convenience store. But at the same time, being accurate was quite important to me. So for me, there was no other way of doing this. In many ways, this is the simplest build I've actually done, and in other ways, when it comes to the roof and the sign, was quite an awkward build. So, you know, you you gotta take it as it comes, I suppose, but there's good and bad with every build. This was one of them builds that just had a lot of surprises, and that for me is literally where I'm going to keep it. If you guys want to go ahead and build the rest of the roof, I will show a little bit of it because we're going to chuck in the second sign. But thanks for watching, guys.